Okay, Coach, we're on the air. We got Coach Cohane here, 1995 Suffolk County, Nassau County, and Long Island champ, Cold Spring Harbor. Coach Wally Serbiak in high school, over 230 wins. All around great guy, all around student of the game. Coach, thanks for coming on tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave. Well, I'm glad to be here.
We have a tough task. It's hard during this March Madness time. We both basketball fanatics, and as soon as I thought of this topic, I said, Coach will know this topic. We're trying to narrow it down to the top men's basketball coaches of all time. Of course, we know Gino and Pat Summitt could break any list of any coach anywhere. But tonight we were just trying to focus on that. We tried to narrow it down as best we could. And Coach, the first question I guess would be, what did you do to narrow in your head? How'd you make your selections in your head?
Well, I kind of went through a list of all the college coaches. Actually, there was one I went on a website of the top 100 coaches, and I kind of went through it, and I picked out guys that I thought, first I had like 50, then I kind of narrowed it down to like 30. I had different criteria. As we were talking before, I think there's a lot of underrated coaches who don't coach in big programs that, as you said before, like a Herb Sendek, very good clinician, very good coach. A lot of those guys, they don't get, the props that other guys do. So
Sure.
I kind of took in consideration those guys. That was to me a big factor. Obviously, wins and losses, and also, you had something about if they did something to change the game. I kind of took that in consideration also.
Yeah, it's to me as some people have like a style of play that they've left with a mark, and sometimes that to me that shows the test of time when you can leave something that is still used in the game today. And the other question I guess would be, how much does championships weigh on you in your decision?
It weighed somewhat, Dave. Again, I think that's important, but I just think there's so many guys that do a great job at schools, and they're again guys like you and I. We talk about we coach at schools. We have great kids, but they're not basketball kids, and we really have to get those kids to play where other schools have more. The kids there's the bigger pool to pick from, and there's kids that are definitely are more versed in playing basketball. So
Sure.
I think I took that into consideration. I kind of like the almost the underdog kind of coach, really, in a lot of ways.
Sure. Well, you can see behind me we got Coach Wooden's Pyramid of Success here.
Oh,
Uh,
right.
it's hard to ignore all those titles that he has, but he's my favorite, of course. But just all the great sayings he has, and I have that up in my classroom. I have it in each of my son's rooms. It's kind of like it's like a it's just the business world uses it. It's just something that I believe in personally. The Pyramid of Success.
It's a tremendous thing. I mean, I remember when I first started coaching, you're kind of looking about stuff, and I remember I was fascinated by his whole pyramid there, and not only obviously for basketball, but it in terms of how life is, how you live your life,
Sure.
and the tribute that I love when Kareem and Walton walked them out, when he kind of got elderly, and they went there and they
Sure.
supported their coach. Like, the fact that guys, in their 50s and 60s still love this guy, I think is a tribute to how class of an act he is.
Sure, sure. I didn't have this on the question list, but I know there's some non-Division One coaches you said that you might have in mind or you might want to mention there. I know I have a couple. If you have any, if you have one or two that you can think of.
I have one guy. I was looking at this, and he got to coach Division One towards the end. But Jim Phelan, who was at Mount St. Mary,
Yes.
he went from Division 3 to Division 2 to Division 1, and I mean, all levels, he was fantastic with what he did. I mean, to me, that's really shows the quality of being able to coach, and again to adapt to different levels. I think he's
Sure.
one of the guys I really thought of, the fact
Sure.
that he was able to go at all three levels and success at all three levels. I think that was fantastic.
Yeah, he used to. I used to work that camp down there. Morgan Wooten and him were in that the Mason Dixon camp. It was such a great camp, and Jimmy was such a class guy. and just a first class gentleman and great coach too. I mean, just a nice, beautiful little place. Mount St. Mary's down there, tucked away. It's like 2,000 students. It's a perfect little spot. But it's a beautiful place. I was thinking of Herb McGee from the old Philly textile.
Yes,
Not
yes, the
too
old
far away.
Philadelphia text. Yeah,
And even locally, Tom Galizzi just piled up the wins at Farmingdale, and then later on at CW Post LIU there. Tommy and guys like Herb McGee just when I was at Post, Galizzi used to let me go into his practices when I was playing baseball there and just watch, and I always appreciated that because he had a really good style of play, great believed in pressure defense, and really did a couple of things that were a little bit ahead of his time, and so.
yeah, he was. It's funny. He was the other guy I think of because I got to know him a little. Not that he was trying to get Wally, but when we played in the state semifinals, we lost to Elton Brand and
Sure.
Peekskill, and
Sure.
Tom actually recruited one of the kids from our game against them. He had a hell of a game. I think he had like 28 or 30 points, and um, he kind of really didn't pan out at Post. He had some good games. So I would see him once in a while. I would go to his clinics and he would just point out, and he would, like he was talking. Sometimes he'd say, "Yeah," and sometimes one lesson I learned is don't base it on one game when you see somebody and he look and point at me and I, what the hell am I going to say? It was smile. But yeah, he was old school. Again, old school in some way, but I'll tell you this, like you're saying, his pressure defense and his ideas, he was a little bit ahead of his time. People don't really, again, give him credit. He had a hell of a job at Post.
He
Hell of
did,
a
and
job.
of course, locally, who got into college later was Frank Morris, was a great coach at St. Agnes, and later he took over the Tech job and really got that program, on the right track. And then, of course, Bernard Tomlin, who I used to work for at Stony Brook and
Right.
Westbury, just another took Stony Brook a lot of those years we were playing Division II schedule with no scholarships, and we were winning games in that league, which is a tough league. That Northeast 10 in Division II there was a tough league, and we were winning games. We were going 10-6 in the league with no scholarships and in a scholarship league. So Bernard to me always, great coach and another just first class gentleman and real student of the game himself, and obviously a former great player at Hofstra.
Yeah, he was. I tell you what, I remember him. I remember him playing at Hofstra. I just thought he was a fantastic player. I think I might have seen him once, maybe played Hofstra. He was just like you said, obviously great player. I thought he did a great job coaching, and you would know certainly more than I would. But he always seemed to get the best, like you say, out of kids.
He did.
And
He
what
did.
talent he had.
Yeah, there's just so many people, out there that just done a solid job at the small college level, but it's amazing. Another question I have for you, Coach, would be, I always think this is such a special thing for me, and this is in every sport. Is the question was, do you reward consistent greatness? Like the guy who wins 20 all the time, the guy who's in the tournament all the time, like Mick Cronin, we said before, people like that.
I think it's important, yeah, because you know what? It's a shame that a lot of them, like like a guy like Mick Cronin, a lot of those guys, and even like Kelvin Sampson would talk about, they're not branded losers, but they're always branded, well, they only get to this point and they can't win that game to get in the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight or the Final Four, and it's a shame because, again, it's the talent that they only have so much talent. And what they do to get that talent to play to best ability, people that don't understand how difficult that is. That's a great example. Those two guys right there.
Yeah, I mean, like this game tonight that UCLA has at Michigan. I mean, on paper, it shouldn't even be a game, but Mick has that style where he grinds you up, and maybe they can hang in this game. And I tell you, if that game's close with 5 minutes left, I like their chances because Mick runs a lot of he has a lot of guys who are tweeners, and they run that individual post ups and things of that nature. But great stuff.
Yeah, he does. I mean, like we were talking about before, at Coach when he was at Cincinnati, they win. I mean, that's a tough style that he won with. A lot of guys didn't want to go there, even when Huggins was there at Cincinnati. They really didn't like to, that's a tough. He kind of ran things a little bit differently, but yeah, he's a great coach, and I really do hope that, like you're saying, I think with 5 minutes to go, I think he's got a great chance if he's still in the game.
Sure. And I guess another question would be, I always think put a lot of stock in the coaches that have an identity. I know, like on my list, I always have Nolan Richardson for 40 Minutes of Hell, just
Right.
because he did that at Tulsa. He did it at Division II level. He won a national championship there. So, does that leave a mark in your decision making at all? The people who've left an imprint on the game.
Yeah, one guy I think is interesting um, is Bo Ryan,
Sure.
Wisconsin. I love Bo because they played that hard man to man, and then they ran. I mean, for a couple of years, I ran because I just we never were real successful with straight, running motion. So I ran his swing offense for about 2 or 3 years. I had perfect kids to run it. So I ran that, and I thought that was pretty innovative. I know Gary Gard he kind of gotten away from they run a little bit of some of the principles, but I thought that was something again that was well known, and a guy I love and an underrated guy is Jim Laranga, who was
Sure.
the coach at when he was at Mason. They got to what, did they make the Final Four?
Yes, they
Am I
did.
right? Yeah, I mean he took. I remember they were talking about those kids are going to get drafted for football as tight ends, and they were athletes, and there was no real star. He did the scramble, thumbs up, thumbs down. You
Yeah.
know, that I think he's a tremendously underrated coach,
Sure.
and
Sure.
I'm glad he had a chance at Miami to show how good of a coach he really is. But those guys, obviously, I'm not. It's funny. I'm not really a huge Dean Smith guy. I don't know why. I think he's incredibly innovative. There was just something
Sure.
about him that annoyed the hell out of me. But the four
As a
corners,
Duke fan, I agree.
yeah. So I mean, definitely, he's a great coach, and I mean, I read all the books that Feinstein did about Duke and Carolina, and it's
Sure.
everything. So
You too, yeah.
I just found it was there's something about Dean I could, and Roy Smith, Roy Williams, two guys. I just I think Roy Williams is the most obnoxious coach. He just annoys the hell out of me. He really does. But I mean, Dean Smith was obviously innovative on what he did, but it also didn't hurt that he had some of the players he had too,
Sure.
right?
Sure. So again, to make this list, we're not slating anybody who's not on this list because this is an impossible list to get. And it's just us two opinions here on the podcast here, telling it like it is. Again, Coach Cohen, Coach Scholler, and we just like to get out there and shoot the topics that can stir up some great conversations. Nothing better than a great sports conversation. But and again, Coach doesn't have to give them in any particular order, but well, we'll go with a little bit more than 10, right? When you said 13, Coach, you narrowed it down to.
Yeah, 14 maybe, right?
Okay. Can you, again, you don't have to give us in any order. Give us one of your guys.
Well, if you just indulge me a little, I thought Pat Summit and Gene Oriamo are
Sure.
just from the women's side. Not that there are other coaches. I just thought they were both incredibly innovative.
Sure.
And again, not sliding with the men's coach. I'm just saying, to me, they're just the giants of women's college basketball.
Sure.
I thought
Kay
those
Vow
two.
and Kay, Kay is awesome too. I mean, she's wonderful. I mean, just great. So many great women's coaches out there as well. Just as many, if not more.
Yes. Yeah, I just happen to those two really just kind of stood out for me.
Sure.
Obviously Wooden is got to be in the list, I believe. Krzyzewski, obviously, he's another. And again, we talk about Dean Smith, even on he drives me crazy. Him, one of my favorites when I first started coaching, I looked up research and I got Bobby Knight's Principles of Man-to-Man when he was at Army.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I mean, I read that packet back and forth and back, all the principles, how to do it. And I just remember that's how, I was, when I first started coaching, I was a much better defensive guy because man-to-man stuff. And that's all I owe it to Coach Knight, who was fantastic.
Sure.
I
I know Coach Smith for me, even though I'm a Duke fan, I think I have him as one of the two best offensive coaches of all time. If you look at the statistics on Carolina's field goal percentage over like his career, I believe they shot was high 40s, like 49% or over for like 25 years in a row. Like I think of as a Duke fan, I always wanted them to take bad shots, but I don't remember them taking too many bad shots. They ran their offense so impeccably well. I just can't believe like watching some of the shot attempts now. I mean, Coach
Oh,
Smith's teams, they just took such good shots. I mean, they were so sound fundamentally, and plus the four corners, obviously, a great creativity, but also the secondary break that
right,
like
exactly.
the back screen over the top that you see still out there. It's still left its mark. But yeah, so who else you got on that list there, Coach? So far, I like what I'm hearing.
One guy, you and I, again, another kind of underrated, even though he's won three championships, is Jimmy Calhoun.
Sure.
You know, I got a chance to meet him. I know Steve Pikiell's was Pikiell's coach,
Sure.
and I got a chance to know Steve a little bit when he was at Stony Brook.
Great
I
man.
thought he was just a great guy, and I
Great
used
man.
to, talk to Coach Pikiell about Coach Calhoun, and we get to he obviously respected, Coach Calhoun, and I just think he's another guy that he sure as hell didn't get all the talent, but boy, he could coach. Like when he was at Boston, but BU, he
Sure.
got Reggie Lewis played for him, and I think he's a guy that just was fantastic. And a guy I actually met just by luck was Rick Majerus. I met him because Wally
Yes.
played him, Wally's team beat him in
The NCAA tournament. Yeah.
the NCAA and tournament. And I actually we got back to see Wally, and he walked by, and I just introduced myself, and he said hello. I mean, I didn't, no big conversations, but I thought Majerus was an incredible
Yes, he
offensive
was.
genius.
He was.
I just think a lot of those things he ran were, fantastic. And, I love the stories. I would listen to some coaches say that they would be eating because obviously Majerus loved to
Yeah.
eat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they'd be in there and they'd take salt shakers and
Sure.
napkins, and they would draw stuff. And I remember when I was trying to, when I started again with coaching, I would look at things he did and go, Jesus, he's a genius. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, really, I think he's another guy because he wouldn't get great talent. You get, got a couple of good players,
Sure.
but overall, he was a hell of a coach. I thought him, um, like I said, Jay Wright, who I got to know really well at Hofstra, because when he got there, I was at Cold Spring Harbor, and Jay opened it up, and he was I mean, he was very good. I used to go to his camp, and he used to take us out. We went for a couple of pops
Sure.
at Bogarts across the street, and but Jay was just a great guy, and I'm glad he got credit because he caught a lot of heat there for years, and I just think,
Sure.
I think what he does is just fantastic. He teaches again what we talk about. Teach how to play the game.
Sure.
You don't have to run 100 different plays. He just teaches them what to do. And it's funny
Yeah.
if you watch his videos and you watch the game, you go, "Damn it, that's
Yeah.
something he taught the kids." I just think he's really,
It's funny you say
really
that.
talented that way.
It's funny you say that because he's the second guy I have for offensive. I was saying Dean Smith, and I think Jay Wright's offense now is so unique. I have to say, a lot of people now are starting to adopt his. It's okay for the guard to get in the lane, pick it up, post up and under. I mean, his guards, his staff does the best job in the country with the guards breaking down the defense, getting in the lane, and all of them have a couple of different post moves they can make. I mean, every year he's got a new set of guards in there, and obviously it's stressed in practice, and it's broken down really well because again they're impossible to guard, and all they're doing is playing smart basketball. And I feel like they're another team that very rarely takes a bad shot, and that's why I say to him and Dean Smith, to me, are the two best offensive guys, just purely because I don't see them take too many bad shots. I'm sure Coach would disagree and tell me he's taking some bad shots, but I really always feel like they're under control on the offensive end. I feel like they space the floor. The kids can all shoot, they can all pass, but they all have a couple of different post moves around the basket, and that's obviously something that they drill every day. So, yeah, Jay was on my list too, and I'm not a Nova.
I really,
I respect Nova.
I believe one of his assistants got a coaching
Fordham.
job. Yeah, that's
Fordham, yeah.
good. Which kid? I forgot which
Yeah,
one, but
Coach Neptune got the Fordham job.
okay. Well, again, he does a fantastic job. He gets obviously good players,
Right.
but they're not like the McDonald top.
Right.
I just think they come in, and like you're saying, their whole practice scheme or their player development is
Yeah, it's
ridiculously
amazing.
good.
Yeah, you can tell that
Yeah.
the kids just flourish from one year to the next. That's a credit to the staff and the kids themselves.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And plus he's a great guy too,
He
coach.
is.
Just a really nice person.
What
Um,
who's next on that list, Coach?
funny you mentioned him. I thought Gary Williams, another guy I thought was
Sure.
underrated.
Sure.
I just think he got the most out of those Maryland teams, and I was glad when he won the NCAA there. Well deserved. I think
Sure.
I think some coaches, not coaches, some critics really got to him. I thought he was fantastic. I
Nobody
like
more
what he
intense
did.
than Gary.
Yeah, yeah. That he's those veins. I think that's why he finally ended coaching. Um, and two last guys that kind of on the periphery. We told the Jim Larango, I said already, but two guys I kind of liked. Um, uh, Greg Marshall before that from
Sure.
Wichita.
One of my favorites.
Unfortunately, didn't have a good ending, but I thought he
Back.
like I kind of took a lot of his stuff off pressure defense, his 2-2-1, that, and I just there were other things I thought he did really well, and one guy that I and you're a basketball guy, so I think you'll know. Greg Campy from Oakland University did a
Sure.
lot of dribble drive stuff, and
Sure.
another guy I think develops players pretty well, and I use some of his stuff too, for years, and
Sure.
so just those guys. I mean, that's basically the guys I kind of thought were, my kind of top guys.
They're top guys. Yes, it's such a hard list. I was thinking the other day. I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, who probably gets left off too is a guy like Tarkanian, very creative.
Yes, yeah.
Defenses,
It's funny. Yeah,
Yamiba, all that
exactly.
stuff.
Who do you have there? Who's your guy?
I have said Coach K, but I didn't start rooting for Duke until my sister went there in '81, and they were really bad then. So I'm a real Duke fan, as I say. Ian Smith, John Wooden, of course, but Rick Pitino, to me, I mean, pound for pound, he's unbelievable. I mean,
yes,
going into that Iona game this year, I'm thinking to myself, I'm not. They could definitely get that done because they're just. He's won with two different schools, 2 national championships, 2 different schools. He's a couple of calls away from having a couple of others. I know the pro stop with the Celtics didn't work out, but people forget he won 50 games with the '89 Knicks, and they ran into Jordan. But obviously Bob Knight. But the other guy, Nolan Richardson, for me.
Yes.
This guy is 10 minutes away from winning back-to-back titles. If you remember, UCLA's point guard gets hurt, and Cameron Dollar is the backup. But they're about to win backup titles with the 40 minutes of hell. But UCLA won that night. Yet you had the O'Bannon boys taking care of business.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And but Nolan with the 40 minutes of hell and Arkansas he went to the Final Four with 2 different groups of kids, and again he left his mark on the game. He won a Division II championship. He won at Tulsa also. Just great coach. I feel like very underrated. I just
Agreed. Very underrated.
Could have got that second title. I feel like we could have had a party. Denny Crum, Louisville.
Yes, good one. Yeah,
another guy.
Very good.
Pressure defense and with the rolled up program in his hand.
That's right.
And obviously Coach Iba, which I can't say I saw him. I'm not that old.
Yes. Neither of us.
Yeah, and of course the other guy too is 2 other guys very underrated. I always think like Tubby Smith, he gets chased out of everywhere he is after he's done a great job. I don't understand it. Minnesota runs him out, and then they struggle for a couple of years. But Tubby's done a great job everywhere he's been, and he won at Kentucky. That wasn't easy shoes to follow with Coach Pitino.
No,
he did get a national title there, and Coach, Coach always has his guys ready. I mean, he's done a nice job everywhere he's been. I feel like he's very underrated. And the other guy has won 2 championships. Well, no, he won 1. John Chaney won at Cheney State. And he never got to the Final Four at Temple, but his use of the zone, he's really the first big 2-3 zone coach. And then of course, as time went by, I guess, he after the Mark Macon team, he never got that close again. But John Chaney, great coach, and again,
very innovative, like you're saying, very innovative.
That 2-3 zone, I guess the 3-point shot kind of hurt him a little bit there when the 3 ball becomes so dominant. But 2-3 zone, like I said, won a national title at Division II. Just great coach, and then of course Jim Boeheim.
Another guy, yeah. I listen. Another guy, yeah. I agree.
Yeah, just
he was one of those guys. Obviously, 2-3 zone principles and what they do. Yeah,
And Cal, what about Coach Calipari? I mean, people can criticize all they want, but his kids play defense, and he does churn them out pretty well into the pros. Some have worked out, some haven't. But you got Fox, you got Booker. I mean, those are obviously two amazing
Well,
players.
those two guys, unbelievable.
But Coach Cal gets them to play hard.
Here's a guy. It's funny. I just kind of looked at my list, and I didn't really bring him up. But when I was first looking at the zones, Lute Olson, he
Sure.
went into that 1-1-3. You remember when
Yeah.
Steve Kerr was part of that? When I watched the video, and he was one of the guys on there, and
Sean Elliott.
I thought that was pretty innovative. I used that for quite a few years, and I got good success when I was at Cold Spring Harbor. I kept myself in some games with that. But and I was glad that he won one.
It's a tricky look. I mean, it definitely confuses some people. I mean, but there's so many, like you said, there's so many great coaches out there. You have, I'm looking at my list down here, but there's so many guys on there. But like I said, Coach Cal does a great job, and I feel like he gets, Adolph Rupp, of course. I didn't get to see him coach, but obviously Adolph Rupp, won a lot of games, a lot of titles. But I guess John would be Coach Wooden would be my favorite one. But at the high school level, I remember before you said when you were talking to people and you're talking to Rick Majerus on the tables, people talk about salt shakers and stuff. And you said Coach Phelan, when I used to work at that camp, Morgan Wooten would eat lunch with all the coaches, and you'd go sit with him, and he'd ask you for your best out of bounds play. And here you are, you're like 24, and you're like, wait a second, you're asking me for my best out of bounds play? And then he would show you something that was so simple. You'd be so mad at why you didn't think of this on your own.
Right.
All his stuff was just very creative, but at the same time, very simple. So like whenever you left the room after talking to him, you realized you didn't know any basketball because he was just so creative, but yet simple stuff that you'd leave and go, man, he was just, but also the humility he had. He'd ask you for your best stuff, and you're sitting there going, wait, didn't you win 32 DC titles in a row? What are you,
Yeah,
what are you asking me for? Just
hey, but that's like you're saying, that's a guy that is humble and just wants to always learn. So that's
he was
that's
unbelievable.
interesting.
And you'd tell him your best out of bounds play, and he'd write it down.
Right.
I guess that's why he's 132 out of 34 at that point in time. And but it's so hard to narrow it down to 10. That's why I didn't even try to make him in order, because to me, like, I guess Coach Wood would have to be first, but after that, it's a mad scramble.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I just for what he did, I would probably put him first, and then after that, you could make an argument for anybody being second. I kind of, maybe if I thought I might have, except for Knight going off the going crazy at the end, I thought
Sure.
Knight might have been my second guy. I
Sure.
thought,
And we can't forget local guy Billy Donovan either. 2 titles.
Yes, Bill. I tell you what, good for him that he was making money. I tell you, he got a hell of a contract when he went to Oklahoma. I don't blame him when he left. When I saw what he was making, I'm like, yeah, I can understand why you're going. But yeah,
yeah. It's but Billy got two titles, and it always says something to me that he got all those kids to win and then come back. They all came back to win.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Tells you something how you feel about your coach if you do that. And he got them all to commit to doing it again. So he must have, the players must love playing for him. And he did a great job when he was at Marshall too. But he's a guy that obviously great coach. 2 national titles back to back, and I'm hoping he gets back into the college game, because I feel like he can get another title somewhere. I'm hoping that he gets back in, because that'd be a lot of fun. On the other list of guys, Coach Carnesecca, Coach Massimino, John Thompson, the old Big East guys.
There you go. Yes.
Jim Valvano, obviously in the ACC, Bobby Cremins, just some great coaches there. And McGuire's, Al McGuire, obviously one of my favorite coaches. So just there's so many guys. We could be on here for days, but that's a great list. And like I said, I guess the only way you can do it is rank the first guy first. But after that, it's like you said, it's styles, and it's 6 of one, half dozen of another after Coach Wooden, I guess.
You can't. I mean, you could. After him, I think you just take everybody's name to a hat, you just throw it up, and wherever it lands, it lands.
Well,
and you can do it again and again and again, because
did you hear the
there's so many.
Gino Uriema, 13 Final Fours in a row.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's
Just
just,
total craziness. I mean, I know the Baylor girl got fouled, but still, 13 Final Fours in a row is rough.
did you hear his comment in the paper
Yeah,
where they came to him about it? I think that was pure. That's great. That's Gino right there.
yeah, that's
Well,
it.
I thought there were a bunch of foul calls in the
Sure.
first half.
Sure.
Yeah, that's typical Gino.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously just and, it's funny once in a while on SNY they have the UConn women's show,
Sure.
and I tell you he gets on to hit Tarasi and Swin Cash had all the
Yep.
old players on there talking to them, and you could see, man, they just kind of like they love playing for him, and
Sure.
they understood what the hell he was all about, which is
Sure. It's
fantastic.
about getting it done. When I have our parent meeting every year, I use a lot of Gino clips and a lot of Gino sayings and a lot of stuff from Gino I put on the board when the parents come in because he tells it like it is, which is something that's I really respect. So and that's why we named the show "Telling It Like It Is." We don't want to beat around the bush. But Coach, I really appreciate you coming on tonight, and we'll have to do it again soon. How's your soccer team doing, by the way?
We're good. We came behind today. We were down 2-1, 1-0, 1-2-1 late in the game. So good win for the Cold Spring Harbor Seahawks. So can't complain.
Is Mike Bongino still the AD?
Mike Bongino is one of the best ADs
Yes.
in the world.
Great guy.
You want me to what? When I see him, I'll tell him you said hello.
Tell him I said hello. One of the nicest people I've ever met in my life.
Just a great guy. I'm glad. I tell you what, as you well know, ADs. My AD at Shore, Mark Passamani, another great guy.
Yep.
I'm blessed at the two places I
Sure.
coach that I have good guys like that.
Sure.
So
Well, make sure you tell him I said hello.
I will, Coach. Hey, listen, always a
for
pleasure. I
coming on.
love talking hoops to you. You know what you're talking about.
Yeah, have fun.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Thanks. Take care, Coach. Bye-bye.
Bye.